Why should someone serious about growing a team, their income, and ultimately their freedom work with Vantage West Academy?
Well, I think the proof is in the result. If that's what you're looking for, well, you guys are doing it. And the same thing is you do what you say. You say results and you show people how to get there. And it isn't smoke and mirrors. It's actually a proven step-by-step guide of how to get there. And if you just look back and follow what you've done over the last 20 years, I think it would be a no-brainer for people to at least, start to figure out or have that conversation of what it is that you're doing because it's different than anywhere else.
So let's talk about results. You obviously have really transformed your business over the years. What kind of results have you seen?
Yeah, so I think my first year, I started in May. So that first year, I think we did 28 transactions as we were starting to, move the ball forward. We're on par to do about 150 right now with our pieces that we're at. And there's 4 agents and myself. We're growing that team fairly rapidly now as we start to need more manpower and more support. So it's funny because you and I did a 1-year goal when we first started this partnership, and we did a 3-year goal. And that 3-year goal, you're like, make it big. If you don't reach it, at least let's see if we get close. And for 3 years, and we hit it, which is really cool because it was one of those, like, I don't think we'll ever get there. It seems like that's, a 6, 7, 10 year away. And we did it in 3, which is pretty cool.
Tell us, going back, I think it's 4 years, 3, 4 years ago, what was your business like at that starting point? What did life look like? What did the business look like? Kind of right at the point where we connected.
Yep. So interesting kind of launch or different trajectory in my sales career. So I went from new home sales and did that for over a decade and, had always bounced off ideas with you of if I did kind of go back into a resale realtor hat position, what would that look like? How do we scale that type of a business? How do we create a plan around it? So we're doing actionable items. And so when we finally made the jump, we started from day one together. So you've been my coach from the very beginning.
Indeed. Do you remember kind of at that time what you were sort of struggling with or what questions you had we were trying to figure out in that moment?
Yeah, I had all of the questions. So I was a realtor before I went into new home sales, but as a baby, the business was totally different 20 years ago compared to what it is now. And it was just more creating, one, a roadmap, two, how do we get the leads in? How do you get to a point where you're not just blowing up your circle of influence and past clients, phone numbers, where you're not feeling like this begging salesperson looking to fill your pipeline? It was, how do we create that a little bit differently so that leads are coming to us and then that we're properly putting them through a process to get them from where they are to where they want to go.
Nice. Going back, back to when you sold real estate the first time, do you feel like you had the belief that in order to do more business, it really just came down to having to work much harder? It was more of like brute force.
It was hilarious. When I was selling risk, I had no plan. There was no plan. There was no proven result to be putting in a certain amount of time to being able to see and move that needle. There was no training around that platform. It was really just leaning into the circle of influence and hoping that they pick up the call or pick up the phone and call me. It was sit and wait and not go and kind of hunt and fill my own pipeline. So yeah, it was a rocky road for a few years for sure.
So when you decided to jump into coaching, kind of what do you think made you say yes to working with us at that point in time?
I think just watching, you build what you've built over the course and time and start from when you launched Vantage to the success and really was the culture of the way that you've built your company out and the team. And it just had a little bit of a different feel. And I thought, if I'm going to do it, I want to go with that guy because he's already doing it the way that if I was so lucky to get to that space that we would want to be doing it the same way.
It's a big investment. Do you remember being nervous at all about making the investment in coaching?
Yeah. When you first start, you don't know what your bills are going to look like. You don't know how long it's going to take you to really get your machine up and running and consistent paycheck coming in and everything else. But I know from sales training before and what that looks like is if you don't invest in a plan, it's going to take you longer to get there. So for me, it was a no-brainer needing to invest up front to, just slingshot what we've been doing now a lot quicker than if I was just out there trying to figure it out on my own. I would be nowhere near where we are right now.
Yeah, let's go down that vein for a second. What do you think would have happened maybe if you didn't decide to take action at that time?
I would have really done what I always knew to be true, and I'd focus on open houses, circle of influence, past clients, but have no real business plan around drawing more leads in that lead generation platform and then taking them through a proper process. It's just these people would trust me because they know me, but I would have no real concrete systems in place for sure. It would take a lot longer to learn the hard way on my way through it.
Do you remember, if you can think back, what was sort of the first big change that we made in your business?
Yeah, there's a couple kind of big leaps. So going from single agent doing everything to, graduating to single agent with a VA to graduating from single agent with operations, taking over all of that paper to going single agent with an operations manager and an intern helping create bandwidth. So it's just these little kind of incremental moves. And then we went from, single agent, operations, intern, watched and was part of all of our transactions, my transactions for a year. She graduated to full-time agent and then adding to the roster from there. So it's just, we really kind of graduated through these little buckets to get to where, we've got a little bit of a core group.
Yeah, you installed the right amount of leverage at the right time as you ascended.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, which strategies besides leverage do you think has had the biggest impact on your business?
What strategies?
Or system?
Yeah, I think, well, a couple of things. We've been really diligent in the process and the workflow, how a transaction on the back end flows through the business, all of the customer touch points, so that everybody who comes through kind of the Reeves group, the Reeves family, all of the customers get the same experience. So whether they're working with me or another agent, I think that's really what set us apart and started to kind of identify a brand out there. Doesn't matter if they get me or anybody else on the team, those same touch points and point of sales flows the same.
Awesome. So let's talk about results. You obviously have really transformed your business over the years. What kind of results have you seen?
Yeah, so I think my first year, I started in May. So that first year, I think we did 28 transactions as we were starting to, move the ball forward. We're on par to do about 150 right now with our pieces that we're at. And there's 4 agents and myself. We're growing that team fairly rapidly now as we start to need more manpower and more support. So it's funny because you and I did a 1-year goal when we first started this partnership, and we did a 3-year goal. And that 3-year goal, you're like, make it big. If you don't reach it, at least let's see if we get close. And for 3 years, and we hit it, which is really cool because it was one of those, like, I don't think we'll ever get there. It seems like that's, a 6, 7, 10-year away, and we did it in 3, which is pretty cool.
It's been really cool seeing you actually hit all of your targets along the way. I've really enjoyed that. Is there a few other metrics or milestones that really stand out to you?
Well, I think right now we're going through a big growth period. This is a big turn in our machine, and from where we have been to where we're going. We brought on a chief operating officer, so we now have full-time operations, really helping with recruiting and making sure that everything that's going through the back end is getting us from being able to do $1.5 million in sales or in commissions to $3 million off the same machine. So she's working in the background there. We have a new transaction coordinator who's come on as well. I now will have a licensed EA in my corner. We've hired 2 more agents over the last couple of weeks. So we're really kind of hitting that critical mass where I feel like we've been pushing the boulder up the mountain for so many years now. We're in our fourth year. But I really feel like this multiplication of many hands working towards the same goal is going to be really cool to see where we end up in 12, 24 months from now.
You can think back to the beginning, or even maybe when you were an agent the first go around. What's the difference between how your calendar looks today and how your calendar would have looked then?
My calendar now is, well, it's booked solid, so that's good compared to what my calendar looked like before. But there's, with more intent behind it as well. There's more actionable, accountable meetings and appointments throughout my calendar to make sure that we're on track and always reviewing back to, what did we say we wanted to do? Are we there? And what do we need to do to get there? So none of that would exist in my calendar before. Zero of those meetings. Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I want to talk about like the feeling a little bit, just in terms of like the shift in identity. Who are you now? Do you feel as a businesswoman compared to then? Like for you, has there been a change in terms of how you see yourself?
Yeah, well, when I first started real estate, I was a child, very young, didn't know anything. There was like, and to go to even starting, the Reeves team, I knew a lot of sales. I had a lot of, backing in previous clients and really started to refine that part of my craft. And then just over the last 4 years, elevating it to where, other heavy hitter, agents and teams are starting to kind of take notice of what we're doing, and we can have conversations where, we're on the same page with a lot of things. So I've put a lot of time over the last 4 years to get better and better and better and better and not really just do what I always did. So we've been really investing in that education behind it. So yeah, I feel confident in where we're standing right now for sure.
Now, you're a pretty humble person, but I'm curious, what's the thing you're most proud of based on everything you've accomplished so far?
Uh, I think I'm most proud of the company culture that we've created. We're really protecting culture over massive, rapid growth and being very specific to who's coming on board. And I think, always from the original vision is creating a team that agents and staff and clients want to be a part of. And I think we've really held to that level of standard for the new agents coming on and the team that's there, as well as the clients. I feel like we've really kept to our word on what we were trying to accomplish.
Awesome. Can you think of one thing that you wish more agents understood about growing a real estate team?
Yeah. So one, it's very expensive. It's a cash eating monster, as you would say. So I think you want them to understand one, the horsepower that, when you combine forces of how much quicker we can grow together than by doing it alone. Um, and then understanding if you pair with the right team who has the same vision as you, the value exchange between kind of what you're bringing to the team and what your team is bringing to you is super, super important. It's got to be a partnership behind it, and that they feel, for us when the agents come on board, that they feel like we provide value to help their business grow, which is why they want to pair with us. And, everybody, as we always talk about splits and everything else and what's in it for me and is it worth it? I think it's just making sure that whoever you do, if you do decide to go down that route, that there is a value exchange so that you do, see everything that goes around in the back end. And
Yeah, I
it's
think the key here, and maybe you say it in your own words, but it's you want to compete in the marketplace on value, not on price. And so when you're building a team, the goal isn't to try to offer the best splits, it's to offer the best lifestyle to your team and to really make it about them and to provide as much value and the ultimate environment for them to win. And if you can get that right, then you can build a team that will service your lifestyle really well, but it's about them first.
yeah, exactly. It's, I I keep saying, as we start recruiting right now, we're bringing more and we're growing. I keep saying, like, I don't want to be the person that's blowing smoke and dangling this impossible carrot at people. It's really, this is what we do and this is how we want to partner with you. And we're really excited to bring you through kind of some of our machine and training systems and everything else. But that it's funny as we bring on these new people that the word starts to get out of, they actually do what they say they'll do, which is pretty cool.
All right, last questions. I promised you max 15 minutes. Why should someone serious about growing a team, their income, and ultimately their freedom work with Vantage West Academy?
Well, I think the proof is in the result. If that's what you're looking for, well, you guys are doing it. And the same thing is you do what you say. You say results and you show people how to get there. And it isn't smoke and mirrors. It's actually a proven step-by-step guide of how to get there. And if you just look back and follow what you've done over the last 20 years, I think it would be a no-brainer for people to at least, start to figure out or have that conversation of what it is that you're doing, because it's different than anywhere else. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Sure. I appreciate you.